Well, good morning. I'm Captain Jerry Dillsaver, and welcome to instructional video 1 of the 2021 Oak Island Saltwater Fishing School. Now, in this first video, we're going to jump right in deep, and we're going to talk about fishing hard plastic lures. Now, the lures that I'm familiar with in this are the MirrOlure brand, so that's what I'm going to be using for my examples, and they work very well. There are also other companies if you have a preference somewhere else to fish them. I've used these all my life. I'm most familiar with them. Now, where you're going to fish them is anywhere that's going to concentrate bait. A creek mouth, a point, an oyster rock, or a sandbar. Somewhere that squeezes that current in or does something to concentrate the bait. Now, these lures are going to fish better if you have a loop knot tying them. Anything that has a loop knot, I mean, this is a topwater, it has an eye, you put a loop knot there. This is a suspending eye, loop knot there. This is a sinking eye, loop knot there. That loop knot's not going to bind, and it's going to give that lure better and more natural action. I'm going to try to tie this for you real quick. Now, the one I recommend is the no slip loop knot, and there'll be a slide on it at the end of this and at the end of the program. You know, we always put our slides, anything we use as a steel will come up again at the end of the program. But using a backwards MirrOlure here, something to put an eye on, first thing you do is tie an overhand knot. And be sure to leave yourself, whenever you're tying knots, leave yourself enough line to tie it. That inch or two that you might be trying to save isn't worth it. Go through the eye, then back down through the loop you've made, wrap the standing line 3 times, bring it back through the loop, and this, lick it. When you're working with mono or fluoro line, give it some lubrication to help pull down. Just hold the long end, and you're going to pull the short end up, and what you'll have when you get through is this knot that binds, and what it won't slip. And what makes it so special is that this tag end is pointing back towards the lure and won't pick up any trash in the water. So we've got several slides that'll go with this, more slides that'll go with others. They'll come up at the end so you can screenshot them if you want. With no further ado here, let's move right on in to, we'll start with surface lures and work our way down to the bottom. Well, welcome back. This is going to be the section of this video on topwater lures. These are lures that you fish across the surface, and they're really exciting to fish because fish come up and just smack them. Sometimes it's unreal. You get so excited at times, truly, you see the fish attacking and you set the hook, or try to set the hook, before he's actually got it. One of the things that you've got to remember with this type of fishing is you've got to feel the fish before you can set the hook. Now, topwater lures generally are going to be in somewhat of a cigar shape. Some a little more pointed, some a little blunter. Here's one that's a little more of a shad shape that's got some propellers on it for noise. Here's one that's a little thinner and it's got a cup to splash, but they attract by making those splashes on the surface. Now, there are differences in sizes, obviously different sizes. There are differences in the material that they're made out of, and some float a little deeper in the water, some float a little higher in the water. There are differences. A lot of them have rattles inside of them, and there's a difference in the sound that rattle makes. There are low frequency lures. I hope you can hear that on the video, but it's a single big ball bearing. And there are high frequency. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a low frequency. Let me get over here and find a high. There we go. There's a high frequency. You can tell the difference in that, can't you? Sometimes you have to shake it to see. Even this little thing with propellers on it has a high frequency rattle. This popper has something between the two. This, which is actually a soft coated lure, has some high frequency rattles in it. It's not very loud. This again, the sound and the motion of these. The standard motion for fishing these is called walking the dog. I'll put this back up later, but I'm going to show it to you now. And walking the dog is a move and twitch, and the lure darts to the side, and move and twitch, and it darts the other way. And you do that with just a steady retrieve, and your rod tip, you're just pulsing it as you're steady retrieving, and that lure comes across the water like so. Again, it's exciting fishing. When a fish makes a swing and misses, don't stop. Bait that's been spooked, that's been struck at and hit, does not stop. It keeps moving, maybe even move a little faster. They will come back. I have had drum hit 3 and 4 times before they could get these lures. They have to roll over on their side to get the lure in their mouth, because they've got the mouth is on the bottom of their head. And when they roll over, they don't see the lure. So they strike it where they think it's going to be, and sometimes they miss. The other lures, the ones with these concaves on the front, they work in a chugging motion. Just whoop, whoop, whoop. And they pop and gurgle and whatever where the ones that are walking the dog splash. Fish these, like we said earlier, creek mouths, points, along oyster rocks, anywhere where you might concentrate bait. And when you get a strike, you're going to be smiling. Well, we're back again for the third part of our session this morning on fishing hard lures. And this time we're going to talk about fishing those suspending lures. I have gotten really fond of these guys. They are lures that have I don't know how the flotation factor is figured, but they will go down a bit and then stop. Now, I do know enough to know that saltwater floats them higher, and they may only be 15, 18 inches real close to the inlet. And freshwater isn't as dense and they sink a little bit more. So they may be 24 to 30 inches as you get back in brackish water. But the bottom line is they go down and suspend. Now, there's some that look like this little menhaden, shad, whatever shape. There are some that look a little more like a glass menace shape. There's some that look a little bit more like a mullet shape. And there are some that are a little fatter all the way around and look like some sort of cross, maybe for a little bit bigger, hungrier fish. Colors are for fishermen. I've said it before. Colors catch fishermen. If you use that lure long enough, you'll catch fish with it. But don't buy it counting on that. Now, these lures all fish, and I'm going to show it here. Hopefully you can see it. I put some heavy line on here with a leader that I never use this color for a leader, but you can see the tag end of this loop knot goes back. And I left it a little exaggerated so it would be easy to see, but The no-slip loop knot does not gather material as it goes through the water. That little bit of grass and crud and what have you tends to shed off of it. If that tag end's pointing forward, it'll grab it. Remember, we tied it over here big. Now, obviously I hadn't trimmed this, but you can see it comes out of the back of the knot. It gives you that loop. This is a twitch bait. If you have no current, you will be slowly retrieving it to move it in. If you have current, my suggestion to you is to let it move with the current. Let it sweep through and then just twitch it. Drift a little, twitch it. I'll show you this. As we always do, I'll put it up later. But fishing a suspending twitch lure, let it drift with the current, twitch it. Let it drift with the current, twitch it. Every so often, double twitch it. Let it go along. If you've been back in the creeks and seen the minnows running down the banks, you've seen them. They'll go drifting along and all of a sudden, wow, something spooks them and they go. That's what you're trying to mimic. And these lures go down and stall. They set at that depth and you can work them across it. Now, sometimes they don't go as deep as you want. And I'm going to show you these little lures or little add-ons. This is called a Suspend Dot. They also have a Suspend Strip. These are the only ones I know of. They're made by Storm, but they're a little stick-on weighted thing. Hopefully you can see that I have put one right behind the hook on this. It'll make that lure fish 4 to 6 inches deeper. So if I'm in that place where I want it just a little more, I can add a Suspend Dot. Now be careful adding them, because if you put them too far back, the lure floats like this. If you put them up in front, it's going to float like that. You know, these are twitch lures. All the eyes are in the front. They work. What more can I say? Now, unfortunately, unlike the surface lures, you don't get to see the strikes. And the strikes tend to come on the paws right after you've twitched it. So your paws, twitch, boom, and it just takes off and goes. It's good fun fishing. They will fish on their own. If you're in no current, start moving them very slow and gradually speed up. If you're in current, cast to what you want to fish, that point, that creek mouth, that oyster rock, and let the current push it down it and just twitch it occasionally. You'll see it's just like the minnows that are in those creeks. And they do catch all sizes. From this little bitty guy who works great in the heat of July and August and again in the cold. This is a medium size. This is a 17. It's probably the most popular. This is a 27. They make a 37. I've never used it. It's significantly larger. But all of these guys come through the water and twitch and dart and catch fish. Use your suspending lures. They will produce for you. Well, we're back now for the fourth and final part of today's video. And this is on sinking and diving lures. These are the lures that you use when you want to fish deeper. And they work one of two ways. They either use weight to pull them down, and a standard sink rate is 1 foot per second for those, or they use a lip. And these are smaller lips, but they use a lip to get it to dive. They come with color, sparkle, scale patterns, what have you. Some of them, the ones that use their weight to get them down, fish like twitch baits. Current will carry them along, or you can do a slow retrieve when there isn't any current and twitch them. Pause, twitch, crank, twitch, crank. Work them along. You're not doing it hard. You're making that lure dart and flash so a fish sees its side. The ones that have the lips, you need to pull on them a little more, because that's what takes them down. And so you're going to be a little steadier and probably working them a little faster to get them to dive and work side to side. Now they come in various sizes. Here's a little small one. This is the 17 size of those suspending baits I just showed you, but with weight added. They call it an 18, and it's called a heavy Dean, and it will sink till about 8 feet. These go 5 to 8. There's a mullet shape with scales. This is called a tiny trout because of the little spots on it. Then the diving lures will go deeper and whatever. In fact, MirrOlure calls these crankbaits instead of diving lures. There's one in here though that I really like. This is a weighted lure. Now this is a model 51, S51. It used to come with 2 eyes on it, so that you could fish it from the top and get a little bit of an angle like this, or from the nose and as a twitch bait. It only comes as a sinking twitch bait now. There's no top eye, but it works great over grassy flats and stuff where you're going to have mullets. This will work better along the edges of channels where you're more likely to have little pogies or little shad or stuff like that. Diving lures are your only way to get deeper when you need to, and they do produce. In addition to deeper creek mouths, points a little further out where it drops off deeper, that oyster rock that rolls right off. Those of you that are fishing in Elizabeth River here at Southport and Oak Island, you know some of those oyster rocks fall right off. You can be 2 feet off of it and be in 6-8 feet of water. This is the kind of stuff that you're going to be fishing there, and they do produce. Trout, drum, I've caught flounder on them, I've caught stripers, everything else. They were the first MirrOlures that I was ever introduced to, and we have worked to the new stuff from now. I hope that today's video has shown you some things and will help you catch some more fish, help you locate them and catch them. Hard lures are a great way. They've got treble hooks on them. If you don't like treble hooks, they do make kits where you can put a split ring and a swivel and change it over to a single hook. That's a personal preference. I remember them all my life with these treble hooks on them. They are a little harder to get out. If you're going to release fish, you might consider putting the single hooks on. But they are effective lures, and we've gone from the top with our surface lures, our suspending lures, and now our diving lures. The end for today. Get out and try some of this stuff. I think we're going to have good weather this weekend. See if it won't put some fish in your fish box. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week, good fishing to you.